what is the energy force versus deformation relationship, the restoring force versus the deformation. And from that hysteresis plot, we will find out the basically that E star and E S, that is elastic strain energy, and from that we are finding the equivalent damping ratio. So that we have finished. Transmissibility we have done also. Okay. Now today we are going to start about the vibration measuring instrument, that is the vibration pickups. Okay. So we are basically dealing with a single degree of freedom system, like spring mass damper system, okay, or spring mass dashpot system, okay, viscosity damping system. So the same system, the spring mass damping system, which can be used in a proper manner to get the ground motion data, okay, whether displacement, velocity, or acceleration. Okay, now how to use that and what is the idea behind that? So we are going to discuss now. Okay, so the machine looks like I mean the schematic diagram of the machine is shown here. Okay, you can see this is the schematic diagram. So this is a casing, you can say very concrete casing or steel casing, and it is encased with the ground. Okay, it's rigidly encased. Okay, so that when ground moves, so that's outside casing also moves by the same amount. Okay, so it is attached to the ground, you can say. Okay, rigidly attached to the ground with some foundation or whatever. Okay, and there inside that casing, okay, so this is the outer casing basically. Okay, and inside the casing there is a mass spring dashpot system. So C is the viscous damping, K is the stiffness, and M is the mass of that block. Okay, now here some marker or pen will be something will be there on this side. So it will measure the relative displacement, that is the ZT. So ZT is the relative displacement of the mass. So I can write here small ZT. Okay, is the relative displacement of the mass, right? Mass with respect to the casing or the base, because the casing is moving together with the base. Okay, and xt is the total displacement. Okay, total displacement. So that is equals to zt, that is the relative displacement of mass, plus the yt, that is the base displacement. Okay, yt is the ground displacement. Okay, now by properly choosing this k and c values, I can measure the ground displacement or acceleration as the case may be. Okay, so we will see shortly. Okay, how to do that. So let us formulate first. Okay, but before that I should see what is the idea behind that. So idea is that, so what we have to measure, can you tell me what we are going to measure here? I mean, or what is your final goal? Sorry, not measure. So what is your final goal to get the data? What data we want finally?
So the transmission.
Huh?
Transmission.
No, we are not talking about transmissibility here. You see, the first heading is the vibration measuring instrument. I want to measure the. So what do you want to measure? As a final thing, what we want to measure? Out of these three things, what we finally want?
Finally, sir,
yes, we want to measure the ground displacement, or y dot t velocity, or y dot t ground acceleration, right? Like earthquake, y dot t. So we want to measure that. How much ground is shaking, that we want to measure. So this is my measuring instrument actually. This is a measuring instrument kind of. Okay.
It
So
will tell
properly,
us the response of object in that harmonic loading.
what?
So like when it is subjected to some loading, it will tell us the response, how it is moving up and down.
No, I'm sure. Yeah, that is where I'm coming. So I'm just asking. So my final aim is to find out the ground motion. What is the ground motion yt? Okay. So to obtain that, but we will measure the zt. That is the relative displacement, right? That is the relative displacement of the mass. So through the measurement of this relative displacement, I will, infer the motion of this ground. Okay, how it is. Let's see. So just write the simple equation of motion. I hope you can directly write it. Okay, now we have already learned, right? So m into y, ground motion, y double. This is the typical ground motion equation in terms of the relative displacement, right? So z is the relative displacement. Okay, so everybody okay with this equation? Mz double dot plus cz dot plus kz equals to minus m into y double. Okay, so that is basically the inertia force. Actually I'm writing, okay, let me write this. C x dot minus y dot plus kx minus y is equals to 0. Okay, so that is what I am writing. Remembering that z equals to x minus y. Right? So from that I can write z equals to x minus y. Okay? So this is my equation. So let us consider y is equal to my sinusoidal y sine of omega. Okay? So now just substitute there, and what I will get? Mz double dot plus Cz dot plus K into Z. So it will double derivative, right? So sine will be cos, it will be again sine, but there will be minus, so it will becomes plus. So and omega will become omega square. So m omega square capital Y sine cos sine again sine omega, right? So it is again in the same format, right? If not sine omega t, either sine omega t, cos omega t doesn't matter. Okay, it's a harmonic type. Okay, so finally, so I'm writing equation again here. So mz double dot. So remember that we are measuring the relative displacement of the mass. Be careful, relative displacement, cz. That is we are measuring, but from that measurement only we will infer what is the ground motion. Let us see how it is. Okay. M, what is omega square y? I think m omega square y, right? M omega square y sine omega t. So this is like f naught sine omega t, right? So what is the amplitude z? Tell me. Z is the response. So z is equal to z sine omega t minus p. Okay. So the response of this system basically, right? So please ask me if you have any doubt, because if you do not ask, then I am assuming that, or it is understood that you are. I have understood that everything is understood by you only. Okay. So that is. So do not hesitate to ask me, or I also give the liberty to you that you can ask after the class also.
Sir, can you please explain that relative motion equation? Like how did you get that mx? Yes, sir, this one.
Equation
mx
of
double
motion.
dot. Yes,
This
sir.
one. This one or this one? Which one you tell me, please?
Sir, like the first one, sir, like since we are finding relative motion, so like x dot minus y dot is fine, but y not x double dot minus y double dot also.
Yeah. So you please read the first, very first two slides or from book, so that the inertia force Fi plus spring force plus damping force equals to 0, right? Dynamic equilibrium. Okay. So inertia forces depends upon the absolute acceleration. Okay? Mass into absolute acceleration. Damping force is c into relative velocity, and stiffness is the k into relative displacement. Okay. So this is the in the D'Alembert principle it was mentioned there. Okay. So you can right from there. Okay, so let me, since you are talking like this, just 1 minute. So that is already mentioned. Okay, so you can go back to those slides or any book that is there. I showed while I developing the equation of motion, right? So I still remember that I developed first spring mass damper system in the horizontal condition, then vertical condition considering the gravity, and we have shown that the equation of motion is same, and then the ground motion subjected to ground motion excitation. Okay, so please go through those things. Let me give 1 minute so I can show that slide. Do you have to unshare this, or can I directly share this? Okay. Can you see it in terms of support excitation? Is it visible to you?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So this is the 2.1 actually. Okay. 2.1. So you see, I have already discussed this thing, right? So Fi I have shown is the dotted line because this is the inertia forces. Okay. This is the ground displacement xz. So this I have shown as a horizontal, okay, ground motion. That is actually I am showing the vertical. So xz is the ground displacement. So from a reference frame, xt is the total displacement, that is x plus xz, right? Okay, and xt is the relative to ground. Okay, the displacement of the mass relative to ground. So then in the next slide I am saying that that is the assumption, so that we can consider this as a single degree of freedom system. Okay, so fi plus fd plus fs equals to 0, fd is c into x dot, fs is k into x, but fi equals to m into x double dot t. Okay, then using the D'Alembert's principle I can write this, and since xt equal to xt plus xz, so I substitute there, I got mx double dot plus cx dot plus kx equals to minus m into xz double dot. So that is the same thing that we are writing. Correct?
Okay, sir.
So let me close it. Share it. Oh. Yeah, so where we are. Okay, so you obtain the expression. Now we are going to solve this. Okay, so the solution of this equation that you already done. Okay, so this is like mx dot plus cx dot plus kx equals to f naught sine omega t. We have done for cosine omega t, but it doesn't matter actually. So the steady state solution is what? So previously it was capital X. You remember capital X cosine omega t minus b. So now it is z t is equal to capital Z of sine omega t minus b. Now tell me what is capital Z? What is the amplitude? In terms of those magnification factor or whatever. So what is that Z? How will get this capital Z? Amplitude of this response. Yes. What is capital Z? Yeah, so please tell me what difficulty you are facing, why you are not unable to answer it. Then I understood what is the problem. Tell
So
me.
like del ST into magnification factor become right.
Del ST into mag. Very good. What is del ST?
There will be f naught by k.
What is F naught here?
M omega square y.
So why you are not telling this thing M omega naught K? What is M? Tell me. This one, right?
1 minus r square whole square plus 2r z square.
That is what I am asking to you. That's all. There is nothing difficulty. All many times discussed, repeatedly many times discussed. So this is F naught here. F naught is this F naught by K into magnification factor. That's the brilliant. Okay. So now I can write K equals to M omega square, right? M omega square, right? So K is equals to M omega n square. So if I substitute here, so can I write it like this? So this will be Y R square by this thing. Is it correct? Anybody has problem with this? Or
Yes,
if
sir.
I write, I can remove this. Is it okay? Got it? Okay. And phi will be again the same actually, the 2r zeta by 1 minus x. But let's first concentrate on this. Phi is required, but that is not so important. Now, if I plot this, the modulus of this z by y, okay, so z by y versus, sorry, capital Y, this is amplitude basically. This is capital Z, remember, okay? Amplitude versus, now I will plot R, okay. So I plot it, so I'll get a plot like this, okay. Correct? Don't see this for the time being. Forget about it. Just see the plot. Okay, so this for different damping. We are plotting z by y versus omega by omega. That is the frequency ratio. This is nothing but the frequency ratio. Okay, clear? So now, so what I told that from the we are measuring the displacement actually zt, right? Okay, zt we are measuring, but you have to infer the ground motion data somehow. Okay, how to do that? So first come to the point of vibrometer, or which is the displacement measuring instrument, also called the seismometer. Okay. Now just look at this figure. So in this range, you can see that this ratio is 1, right? Correct? I mean, approximately 1. So for R greater than 1. So this Z is nearly equals to 1. Am I right? Right. Now go back in the previous slide. What is ZT? Small z is capital Z sine omega t minus p. Small zt is capital Z sine omega t minus p, right? So can I write y sine omega t? Obviously, if this happens, right? Or greater than what? Let's say in this range or further. Is it right? Till it is okay? Any doubt?
Yes, sir.
Okay, then it is done. Okay. You see, so you have measured this response, relative displacement, right? Of the mass. What is this on the right hand side? Y sine omega t. Forget about phi. So this is the ground motion. So that means by measuring this, we are actually measuring the ground displacement. So measure of ground displacement. Okay, with some phase difference, with some just shifting of phase. Okay, and since it is a single harmonic component, so there will not be a problem. If there is a many harmonic component, then the phase difference will be problem. But that is the beyond the scope of this elementary courses. Okay, so that you can read by yourself if you are interested. That's the terminology called as the phase distortion. Okay. But that is not required for the time. Okay. So, but for this case, so there will be some phase difference. Okay. But otherwise, it is just a y sin omega t. Okay. What is y sin omega t? Nothing but our ground motion. So by measuring Zt, that is the relative displacement of the mass inside the casing, we are actually measuring the ground displacement. Okay, and that's why you see it is written at the range of hygrometer. So then the instrument is behaving like a hygrometer or seismometer. Seismometer. So that is the measure of the ground displacement. Okay. So now tell me. So if I have to operate this my instrument in this range, so or greater than 1 range, or it so that it acts like a hygrometer or seismometer. So what should be the system mass and stiffness? What characteristic it should possess? Tell me. I mean, mass large, spring stiffness less, or mass less, spring stiffness more. Tell me.
So mass more and stiffness less.
Yes. Okay. So that you can easily find out R equals to omega by omega n. Omega n is the natural frequency. So to make R larger, you have to keep omega n smaller. So omega n is equals to root over of k by m. Okay, so to keep it small, mass should be heavy. So to operate in this range, a soft spring, I can write soft spring and heavy mass. And if it is a heavy mass, then the instrument will be heavy, right? Heavier instrument. So that is not preferred actually. So that's why hygrometer or seismometer is not preferred. The next thing that is going to discuss, so in this range it operates, that's the accelerometer, just to measure acceleration. So once you got the acceleration, then you can differentiate it, right, to get the velocity, and further integrate it to get the displacement. Right. So that is actually preferred because in this case, obviously, from intuitively you are understanding that the system will be lighter, and here light mass and heavy spring actually is required in this case. Okay, the opposite. What is there? Yeah. Also, okay. So phase difference I will not discuss. Now for the next thing, right? Next thing is what? Accelerometer. Barometer. Okay, how it is the same thing again. So what expression you have got? Capital ZT or a small ZT, right? Directly. So ZT is equals to capital Z sin omega t minus phi, right? So capital Z is what is that? Y r square by this. Okay. So now I'll just write in a different manner. So this is omega by omega n square y by root over of this thing, right? Magnification factor basically. Sin omega t minus phi. Any problem with this expression? Same thing I have written, right? Y r square by this, right? I can write omega. What is remaining there? So this one is there. So I'll write this first. So omega square y sin omega t minus phi. What is the mistake here in this equation? What mistake I did? Come on, quick.
Minus sign.
Minus. Now tell me, what is this? What is the ground?
Acceleration of.
So y
Yes.
double. Y double.
Yeah. Except the phi, right?
Yes,
Correct?
Yes, sir. Sin omega t.
So if I'm measuring this, right, ZT, small ZT, and omega n square I know, omega n k by m, that is from the instrument, whatever k and I am setting, so I know this. So I can actually calculate this from the measurement. Basically, I'm measuring this, let's say. So in order to get the acceleration, I have to make this 1, right? Nearly equals to 1. Okay. So now go to the plot of this thing, that is the magnification factor versus R. So I'll just show a zoomed plot, okay? This is actually zoomed plot. I'm showing the magnification factor in the range of 0.94 to 1.06 because I want to keep it, I mean, and to focus on that area. And R, I am obviously understood the R should be I mean less than less than the one value. Okay. So you tell me now. So what damping and what R should I choose so that I can keep this value as close to as R possible, as close to as 1 as possible. Tell me. What zeta and what R value should I choose so that this ratio becomes 1? I have to make this 1, right? And so that I will get, remember the expression that minus omega n square zt, which I am measuring basically, right? That equals to 1 by this thing, that is 1 root over 1 minus r square whole square plus 2r zeta whole square into that acceleration, y double dot, right? Down acceleration. So in order to get this from this, I have to make this as a 1, nearly equals to. So what damping ratio and what R should I keep? My system should be within that so that I can measure the ground acceleration. Tell me from the figure. What should be the zeta range I should use and what should be the R range I use? Just tell me. So R you should try to keep 0 to everything is closer, but I cannot. I mean, damping should not be more. So maybe around 0.6, 0.7 will be less than 0.6, 0.7 should be good enough, right? So that if it is 0.6, let's say it will be in this range. And then if I make the zeta value 0.65 or 0.6 to 0.7, 165 will be too much, 0.6 to 7, then it will be near to 1, right? So it is 1.94, 0.1.06. Okay. So you can suitably choose that. So I hope it is written here. Yeah. So, yeah. Yes.
Can you explain it once more from graph?
Graph or this expression? How this expression?
Yes, sir, like how you choose 0.6.
No, first of all, you tell me you understood this expression or not?
Yes, sir.
Why my interest is to make this 1, this ratio 1 by root over 1 minus r square whole square plus 2 r zeta whole square. My interest is to make this ratio 1. So that you understood why my interest is to make this ratio 1?
Yes, to so that our equation should become minus that y omega square.
No, so that what we
Like in
measuring,
equation that should be
yeah.
1.
So no, so that what we measuring is represent as a acceleration of the ground.
Yes, sir.
Correct? But let me no. That is the main thing to understand. Okay, this plot is just I mean, the data you give and some plot, and from that you that is very simple. So you see again, this expression is okay with you, right? Zt is omega square by omega n square. This thing.
Yes, sir.
Then I am writing this as omega n square zt is this right hand side. That is okay. Now this is nothing but y double dot except this phi. Okay. You see y is sin omega t, y is sin omega t. So if you take the double derivative, you get y double dot is minus omega square capital Y sin of omega t. Correct? Right?
Yes, sir.
So basically, so if I can, let's say if I remove this, let's say this is not there, right? But this is 1 basically. So then this value is equal to nothing but the ground acceleration, right? As I told, so we are going to measure only the relative displacement of the mass, and that is nothing to measure. It is root over ky, right? I mean, whatever stiffness and mass we are choosing. So that means through this measurement we can infer the ground acceleration if condition is that this has to be 1, correct?
Yes, sir.
Or nearly 1, I mean, not exactly 1, nearly 1, then it is the fine, right? So to get that, so you are trying to plot it. So this versus R for different values of damping. So what is the better option? So if I come here, then it will be better, right? If I keep R value this one, then it will be 1. This ratio will be 1, correct?
Yes, sir.
This
But
plot is showed in a zoomed manner, so you are not able to visualize it. You see the range 0.94 to 1.06. Yeah, but ask your question now. But
so like we can stop at 0.3 also. Why to go up to like 0.6?
yeah, because if you want, correct. If you want to stop it here, 0.3, right? Okay.
Yes.
But for different, what damping will choose? If I choose 0.5 or something, then it is not close to 1, right? That is what I'm trying to say. So it is better to give a little bit more range of R and give some little more damping. Okay, damping also provided. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Understood? Okay. Yeah, that will come. It is coming. So then, how much R is required? So if I want to keep lower, so then what will be my system? It's a design problem actually. Yeah, your question is right. Yeah. So I mean, what will be my system parameter about the mass and K if I want to keep the R as lower?
So mass should be small and spring constant should be high.
Yeah, heavy. I mean, stiff spring is required and the heavy. I mean, small mass is required. So instrument is lighter. Okay. Now, if you want to keep, I mean, R. So actually, we are trying to see R range. Okay, that you are saying R 0.3. That is fine. So what I shown here. What is the slide gone? I showed then R 0.6 below. So 0.3 is okay also, right? So this is nothing wrong here. We are telling that 0.3 you want to keep. Right? So I am giving a more range to the designer. That is good or bad?
It's good only.
So you see, it is written. So as you told, small mass and stiff spring. So instrument will be small in size. So that is actually preferred. So accelerometer are used for ground motion measurement during the earthquake. So from that acceleration data, I can integrate it and I can velocity and displacement. Seismometer is bulky because heavy mass, right? And it's not preferred. Okay. So some other things are written here, but maybe I'll remove this slide because I'm not going to discuss this. So if there is a let's say two harmonics are there, okay, two harmonic of different frequency, then there is a terminology called phase distortion, okay, but that is not required. So that you can read from some books if you're interested. So that is the thing about vibration measuring instrument, okay. So maybe you can solve problem, but that not today. Okay. So with this actually basically we have done with the harmonic loading. Single degree of freedom system, what we have done is the single degree of freedom. Not single degree of freedom system is not done. It will take more classes to finish single degree of freedom system and move to the multi degree of freedom system. But we have done single degree of freedom system. I mean, free vibration part that we have already done, right? And force vibration, some part of the force vibration. Force vibration with periodic loading, simplest type of periodic loading, that is the harmonic loading. Harmonic loading. Okay. Now we'll start with the periodic loading. Okay. Periodic loading. Okay. But that also I'll briefly I will discuss, and then we'll discuss about the general type of loading. It's an arbitrary, like a pulse loading or any other arbitrary type of loading, how to handle that. Okay. So periodic loading. So periodic loading means it is again repeating after a certain interval, but not just a sine function or just a cosine function. Okay. So what can I do to find out the response? Because my equation of motion is remaining the same. Some force Ft. Okay. So that Ft previously it was some F naught cos omega t or F naught sin omega t. Okay. But now it is repeating, but not harmonic. Okay. We have seen for harmonic we can get the very simple closed form solution. Right? So what to do for the periodic loading? So any mathematical theory coming in your mind, so that we can use for periodic loading also the concept that you understood during the harmonic loading analysis. Okay. Any mathematical thing coming into your mind, so that you can represent the periodic loading as a harmonic loading. So I am giving you the hints as a combination of harmonic loading. Any mathematical thing coming in your mind. You have learned definitely.
So numerical interpolation.
Huh?
Numerical interpolation.
No, numerically you are not going to the numeric thing. Numerically solve you can any excitation, I mean that you numerical, that you will come to that later, but since it is I think not in the syllabus of, I don't know, numerically solving the equation of motion, right? Whatever way the Ft is there, any arbitrary, whether it is earthquake, because earthquake you will see this like this, I mean totally random. So what harmonic, what periodic, forget about that. So how to solve that? So if the data is available, I mean deterministic data is available, so you just use the time history. This is called time history. Okay. So time history data numerically solved it. That's all. I think I asked you someone to do.
Omega
Yeah,
t.
yeah. Tell me.
So f naught cos omega t.
That is the harmonic loading that we have finished. Now
Yes.
periodic loading. So periodic loading is not a harmonic, right? Periodic means this is maybe I mean repeating, but not a harmonic. Sine or cosine, it's not following. Or it can be like this also. It's repeating after certain interval, but it's not. So how to do that? How to use the concept of harmonic loading? What mathematical series you can use? So I have given further hints. What mathematical series you can use?
Taylor series.
Huh?
Taylor series.
Taylor series. Have you heard about the Fourier series?
Yes,
Yes.
a Fourier series. Yes.
So where any periodic function, any periodic function, mind it periodic, okay, any periodic function can be represented as an infinite sum of sine and cosine term. Okay. So in that sum, if you choose infinite number of term, so theoretically, it will exactly represent your periodic function. Okay. So that will be a combination of sine and cosine function. Okay. And now you know how to do the for each. So if I can find out the response for each and each sine term and cosine term and just add it the each individual response, I get the total response by virtue of superposition, which is valid for linear system because you are dealing with the linear system. Okay. Not valid for non-linear system. So let us start that thing. Just close it. So that is very simple actually. There are many things there actually. But that is,
So we can add terms like x sine omega t plus y sine 2 omega t. That will also.
yes, I'm coming to that. I'll show you. Yes, it will be a combination of sine cosine term and a constant term as a Fourier series, and we know response for each individual term, right? So you can very easily do that. Okay, so the slide is visible right side. You can see. So far, we consider the response of single degree of freedom system subjected to harmonic stability. Many practical systems are subjected to non-harmonic forcing function. So periodic force is repeat after certain time interval. So it's repeating, but not harmonic. Non-periodic force, step force, ramp force. So this is the step force. This is the ramp force. Okay, and then sudden impulse, those type of things. Okay, like blast load. Example is a blast load. So that we call a shock load. So those type of loading we'll discuss after this finishing. We'll discuss the shock type of loading. Just for very short duration, it is happening. How to do that? Okay. Periodic loading. Okay, so it's a repeating after certain time interval t, but not harmonic. Okay. So as I told, so you can use the Fourier series. Okay, so can you see it? Read it, it's very simple. So any periodic function, as I told, can be represented by Fourier series as an infinite sum of sine and cosine term. So if ft is my periodic function of period tp, when after tp time it is repeating, so then this is just mathematical Fourier series. Just remember this, or you can note it down. Okay, so that is n0 by 2 plus summation of n equals to 1 to infinity. Okay, although it is, mathematically it is saying the infinite number of terms is required to represent it exactly, but in practice, infinite number of terms is not required. Few times are good enough. Terms are good enough to represent approximately. Okay. So the same thing here. So omega I am writing as a 2 pi by t. Okay, omega 1 basically we are writing. So omega 1 is called the first harmonic. Okay. So basically this expression is, in expanded form, it is nothing but a0 by 2 plus a1 cosine omega t plus a2 cosine 2 omega t, like that only. Okay. And plus bn sine terms. Okay. So now you know how to find out the response for this, right? Correct? N equal to 1 doesn't matter, n equal to 2 is 2 omega is like a frequency, right? So if not sine omega t or if not cos omega t. So just find out response for each individual term and add it by virtue of superposition. Then get the response. Okay. Now how to find out this coefficient an and bn? Okay. Any idea how to get the an or bn? So I've written here what is an and bn. Any idea? Anybody has any problem? This is just mathematical thing, right? So Fourier tells that we can represent any periodic function as a combination of sine and cosine function. Okay, infinite number. Sorry. So your a naught is the constant term, and that the response you can easily find it. So what is the response due to this term? A naught by 2. Come on. What is the response due to this term? One typing mistake is here actually. Either this ft should be small, capital FT, or this ft should be small. Ari, come on, tell me what is the response? You know the response due to this term and this type of term, right? I mean, response of a single degree of freedom system due to harmonic load, sine or cosine. What is the response due to this? A naught by 2.
So that will be just what's say omega equal to 0, sir. So that will be like constant.
Tell me the response. Let's say this is not there. What is the response? What is next?
That will be just a naught by 2k.
Yes, that is what I'm asking. So a naught by 2k plus summation of something plus summation of something. That something you have already understood and already done, right? And how many terms is required, that you have to fit and see that how many terms it is approximating. Okay. Now, how to find out this a naught, a1 and bn? Okay, that is actually very easy, and you can see any mathematics book or maybe hybridization book, it is there. It is just you have to multiply this expression. So this is the Fourier series, right, of the periodic function ft. So multiply it throughout the equation 1 here, right? So equation 1 by cosine n omega nt, and integrate from 0 to 2 pi by omega. That is one period. Over one period you integrate it, then you will find out an. And if you multiply it by sine n omega t and integrate from 0 to 2 pi by omega, then you will find out bn. Okay. We will say some other terms will get 0, vanishes, and that bn corresponding terms of bn will remain. Okay. And when you calculate an, that means if you multiply it equation 1 by cosine n omega t, okay, then the other terms will get vanished, and you get only the term related to an. Okay. So in this way you can find out an and bn. Correct? So that you can check now also. It's very simple. So you'll find out the others will get vanished. Anyway, but you can directly, because our aim is to find out the response ultimately. Okay. So these coefficients you can just remember, note it down or remember, and then you can just put it there. So then now I have just finished there. So an arbitrary periodic loading has been expressed in the Fourier series in the form of equation 1, which consists of two terms mainly. So one is constant load, that is a naught by 2, right? Average load value represented by a naught by 2, and then the series of harmonic loads of frequency n omega 1 and amplitude bn and an and bn. Okay. So as I already told that n, although n equals to infinity, the series is saying that the n equals to infinity, but you can approximate most periodic function with only few terms, most of the periodic function. Okay. So let us see here, it is showing that. So this is a periodic function, right? Repeating after an interval of tau, let's say. So you see one term approximation, very bad. You can see one term is just a horizontal line, this dash horizontal line, this line, very bad. No approximation at all. Two terms, quite good. Three terms. Okay. So three term approximation you see. So this is the actual function, and this is the. So if you increase the term, you will come closer to the. If you increase the number of term in the Fourier series, then you will come closer to the actual thing. Okay. But there is actually some issues, some distinct issues is there, like say this is your function. Okay. So where the discontinuity is there or sudden change is there, so you see with the increase of term also, you will properly approximate this till here or here region, but in this region there will be some difference will be there. Okay, no matter how much term you consider. Okay, so that is there's actually this anomaly is called the Gibbs phenomenon. Just remember the terminology, no need to go to it. Right? It's called Gibbs phenomenon. Anyway, but that is not the main issue. The main thing is that we can represent any periodic loading as a combination of sine and cosine term. That's all. We have to take few terms, okay, to approximate that function, and then we can use our whatever understanding we have done so far, we have knowledge we have so far for the solution of the harmonic loading. We can use that, invoke the principle of superposition, since the system is linear, and you can find out the response of the system. That's all. Some special cases I have written here. So as you see, now the response of each term of the series is merely the response to a harmonic loading, right? Okay. The total response is what? Equals to sum of the response of each individual harmonic term, okay, by invoking the principle of superposition for linear system. Now it will be simplified further if your ft is odd function of time, right? That is the property of integration you already know. So if it is odd function, that means if it is ft equals to minus of f of minus t, then you will find that n equal to 0. So then it will be simple the sine series. And if it is an even function, that is ft equals to f of minus t, then bn, that coefficient is 0. So it will further simplify basically, nothing else. The idea is remain the same, okay? So if it is 2, then for undamped system, we can find out due to sine term response, already know, right? Due to cosine term, already know. Okay. Due to constant term, as someone told, n0 by 2k. Total response to the periodic load, just add it. So I have just added it and combined it and written in a proper manner. That's all. Don't confused or don't surprised by this expression. Okay. This is very simple expression. Okay. So this is the individual term are added. Constant term due to cosine term, sine term. We already done it, right? We are remembering f0 by k 1 by 1 minus r square sine omega t, right? So that is what is written. Okay. So this is f0 is here bn by k 1 minus r square. So there it is only 1, right? So rn, I mean there it is r only, omega by omega n. So here it is instead of omega it is n omega 1. So that is because n 1 2 3 4 like that. Okay. So similarly we can do for the damped system, because damped system also we know what is the response for sine and cosine term. Okay. Okay, in a similar manner we can obtain this. This is just written in a compact manner. Okay. We know that, recall that the steady state response for ft f0 cosine omega t is this, and for sine omega t is this. And this is something wrong written here. Which one is sine cos? No, let's check it. This should be cos is correct. I think this has to be sine, right? I feel so. Check it. Anyway, I mean you know it. What is the response for steady state response for if the load is cosine term and the sine term, and then you just add it to get the response. So you can here one home task is given here, so you can just practice it. Okay, so A is the amplitude. So that means here we'll use A as the amplitude of the motion, and you can find out. Just try to see how many terms is required to approximate that. Okay. So before stopping today for this class, so CR is here or left? CR 3 CR left, no CR presently. CR, what is his name? Anybody temporary CR?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so today we have class from 5 to 6, right?
Yes, sir.
So that makeup class or compensation class, whatever you can say. So we'll take it from 5 to 6, and we'll start with the topic on response to arbitrary forcing function. Arbitrary, any arbitrary force. Okay. So that will start, and in that context we'll discuss about the impulse response function and Duhamel integrals. Okay. So that we'll discuss in the evening. Okay. I think I told you, and someone also actually during discussion I told that to find out the response, okay, from the under a harmonic loading of a single degree of freedom system, from the closed form expression that we have developed and using some numerical method that you have learned. Okay. So have you anyone done it, or what? Can you show the result? And someone is telling that he will use that Runge-Kutta method and the second order system. So can you tell me how you have done it? Who told? I do not know, but anybody if done. So just check it. This will be good for you. Now, right now you know the expression, right? What is the expression to response? Right? For a, let's say for f0 cos omega t, right? So you just plot the expression using that closed form expression that we have obtained, and solve the equation of motion numerically. Okay. You can use other techniques like what is called central difference method also you can use if you know any other method. So anybody try with the Angikutta method or any other method? No one. Okay, no problem. So you can try it. Okay, just see how close you are getting or what, or you are getting exactly, or what is the thing. Okay, and since it's a linear system, so you can the MATLAB. I already told the ODE45 is you can nonlinear system also you can solve, right? If the equation of motion is nonlinear, then also you can solve, and it's a very powerful command in the MATLAB available. ODE45. Okay. 4/5 order of ordinary Runge-Kutta method. You can, since the system is linear, you can directly use another command is there also. What is that? Yeah, it's called LSIM. LSIM, linear simulation. LSIM. So you can directly use this command to solve this differential equation. Okay. So these are some MATLAB command I just told you. If you are interested in coding and writing all those things, so that you can use. So MATLAB actually will help us. I mean, they have make our life easier by those inbuilt commands. Okay. So today we discuss about the vibration measuring instrument and response to periodic function, right? So in the evening we will discuss about the response to arbitrary loading, and in that context we will first discuss about the impulse loading, right? Due to impulse unit impulse response function we will derive. Okay, fine. So if you have any question or whatever, then you can ask me, or otherwise you can leave because the time is over official.